Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we're gonna have a look at what the exhaust temperature sensor is and how it changes throughout the lap based on specific conditions. Okay, it's also known as TK. So when you look at your telemetry analysis tool, be it Unipro, be it AIM, be it Starlane Math, as this one we're looking at, because that's the one we're typically working the most at BabyRace. So, you have to look for TK, or in the AIM software it's called temperature. So you have to basically look at this kind of value. So in our case, you see it over here, it's called TK. It's a bit hidden here, I don't know if you can see that, actually here, all right, in this exact area. Actually, let me mark it for you so you can see it's this one. Okay, this is the RPM graph and this is the speed graph. Okay, considering that, I wanted to quickly show you how the exhaust temperature basically changes throughout the lap. But before doing that, let's actually explain what exhaust temperature sensor is all about. Well, the exhaust temperature sensor is basically that sensor that is connected from your telemetry tool. So in our case, we are using the Starlane. So from your telemetry tool all the way to the exhaust. Okay, so at the beginning of the exhaust, typically, not at the very beginning where the restrictor is, but it's just like 5-10 centimeters after that. Okay, so you have this, basically it's a thermostat sensor. It basically calculates the temperature of the over there. So basically it's very important for two reasons. The first and foremost is for tuning the carburation of the engine. Obviously the engine tuner are going to spend a lot of time looking at that. It's an extra tool they have, together with looking at the spark plug as well as looking at the restrictor, like they do in 60 Mini. So they look at how the spark plug and the restrictor colors are, and they try to then gauge what the exhaust, where the carburation is, if it's good, if it's too rich, if it's too lean. But the other important reason why we look at the exhaust temperature sensor, so the TK, it's because it allows us to guess where the driver is lifting the throttle and where is going back on the throttle. Because obviously you may know that when they're going on the throttle, obviously the engine is burning fuel, and by burning fuel, the temperature, the exhaust temperature, the fumes outside of the restrictor are actually getting warmer, let's say. So that's why the exhaust temperature goes up. Conversely, when you're back, like off the gas, it's the opposite obviously is happening. So you're going off the throttle, and you can see, like in this case here, that the exhaust temperature is going down. Okay, so I hope that it makes sense to you. Let me actually point it out in the chart. So you see, here's when, for example, we're in Sarno. Okay, it's in this corner, in this turn 2. Yeah, they're flat out, and then when they take off the gas, you see, at 558, this point, take off the gas, and up until the point they go back on the gas, the exhaust temperature keep going down. You see that? Then on the exit, they pick up the throttle at about 600 meters. So after 40 meters, slowing down on the brakes, they pick up the throttle, okay, and you see the exhaust temperature is going down. This data is comparing two exact same session of the exact same driver, but it's in two different moments. So one lap was driving alone, actually leading the race, which is the yellow, as you can guess, because obviously the speed is lower through the straights because it doesn't have any slipstream, whereas the red is actually catching the group, so in the slipstream, and you can see the exhaust temperature is behaving differently. So let's now touch each of these points. So as I said, the first very important thing you have to bear in mind is this: when you get off the throttle, the exhaust temperature goes down, and when you go back on the throttle, the exhaust temperature go back up. Actually, let me remove the RPM so it's actually bigger and you can see that more. So this is happening everywhere. Okay, for example, in this part, it's in turn 7. In this case, it's a normally easy flat corner in high grip conditions, and in the yellow it does easy flat, but for some reason the red had to lift here, I guess, and you can see you can see that the exhaust temperature is going down. Okay, you see, pump, he had to lift, and then he goes back on the throttle. So, and you can see in terms of lap time here, there's a big time loss for the red lap. Okay, you can see in terms of delta time, we have a 3.5 tenths off, and then the yellow is able to actually close the gap a bit to 2 tenths off. So he actually gained 1.5 tenths. I can actually show you, right? It's, yeah, actually a little bit more than that, almost 2 tenths. All right, so I believe there was some slower driver in front that actually was holding him up, and he had to lift the gas there. You can see that he's gonna get to slipstream. I guess he's gonna overtake him into the next corner, but you can see it's quite important to notice this. It's quite easy to see using the exhaust temperature sensor if the driver is doing braking gas, for example, which is not a good thing to do in 60 mini. I know some drivers may be doing it in juniors. It may work in the 1 lap qualifying lap, which, to be honest, like I also kind of did in a few tracks, in a few occasions, but all in juniors, all in quali, all in few occasions, just to stabilize the rear end a little bit, to make a full corner, like full throttle corner, just tapping the brakes a bit. But then couldn't do it in the race because obviously you overheat everything. In mini, it's dreadful. It's really bad to do braking gas, but unfortunately some of the kids have this bad habit. I don't know where they pick it from, but you can very easily find the issue by looking at exhaust temperature. Okay, you will see that basically the speed is going down, like in this case, but then it stays flat. But you can see that the exhaust temperature shows you it's flat. So it's not this example. We will look at this in another video more specifically, so you can know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, let's go back to the basics. So as we said, the first and most important thing it's important to understand the carburation. I'm not gonna give you exactly what kind of carburation range we're looking for. I mean, that's kind of our it's kind of private, so I'm not going to share this with you, but it depends a lot on what kind of sensor you're using, because there's so many different exhaust temperature sensors. Everyone is different, using different colors, different height, different width. So if I tell you, oh, the target is 600 degrees, it's not going to be the same for everybody. So yeah, just make sure you focus on your own carburation. I mean, obviously if you're just driving for your team, you don't even have to take care of that. Like, the team is going to take care of that. Don't worry about that. But obviously, if you're driving, like if you're doing your own engines or stuff, then obviously, yeah, you can. If your father is like looking after that, then you obviously looking at the exhaust temperature and finding the sweet spot is important for you. Another thing I wanted to show you is this. So, as we said, the first thing that is important to understand is the carburation. The second thing that is important to see is the throttle pickup points, because you can find the differences between drivers' pickup points. Okay, actually, let me align. In this case, obviously, we're talking about the same driver, so we have pretty similar throttle pickup points. You can see in both laps is going on throttle exactly the same time, so 605 meters across the track, exactly that moment on the track. Whereas in turn 5 here, in the yellow lap, when he was driving alone, he actually went on the gas at 758 meters, whereas when he was alone, when he was in the group, he was 2 meters early, so 756. Actually, I can make the calculation for you. If I make 758 minus 756, you can see that there's 2 meters of difference. So you can actually see it. The red starts to go up a little bit earlier than the yellow. It's subtle difference, but you can see. Okay, here we have a difference because obviously he's lifting. Here, I think we have to slightly align it. It's not perfectly aligned like that. Yeah. Here they go on the throttle exactly the same spot. Here, the yellow is probably 1 meter earlier on the throttle than the red. Here, then the throttle the same spot. And it also is good for seeing where they take off the gas. Like you can see in the red, in this case, actually took off the gas a little bit earlier compared to the yellow. And as well as what happened here. I guess it was in an overtaking move or whatever, or either he was getting overtaken or he's overtaken, because yeah, you can see that here he's taking off the gas a little bit earlier. All right, but the other very important thing that I wanted to show you is this. At least in 60 mini, I can't remember in juniors or seniors, to be honest, but I guess it's the same principle. obviously what we saw is a very interesting thing is that based on the slipstream you have, you will get the RPM like limiter, you know, because they're in 60 mini GR3 in Italy, a GR3 in under 10, there is this limiter, okay, you just set at 14,000 RPM. So basically the engine is cut, like the electrical side is cut at 14,000 RPM, so it avoids it from going higher the RPM, so it's like basically restricting the power, I would say, at the top end. So when you will be following somebody, you're gonna get the draft, you're gonna reach the limiter earlier, right? Whereas when you're alone, you basically have all the air, like all the full wind of air coming on you, so you're gonna have basically a resistance, a drag, you're gonna hit the limiter later. So because of that, as you can see here, the yellow, all right, and oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, which is very important, when you hit the limiter, you get a little bit richer. So the carburation gets a little bit richer, not like you get richer. The carburation gets a little bit richer because there's more fuel being pumped with the engine cuts. So I don't want to be very, I mean, I don't even know exactly the process behind it. I'm not an engine tuner, but typically, yeah, what we see with all of the engines is that when you reach the limiter, instead of keep going up the exhaust temperature, it actually starts to go back down. So it's kind of like cooling down in terms of like carburation. It's not getting any leaner, because typically you can see that the more you're full throttle, the longer you're full throttle, the longer it goes up the exhaust temperature, so the leaner it gets. But at some point, you know, when you hit the limiter, bam, it actually goes lower. Okay, so you can understand that it's very important to keep that in mind also when tuning up the carburation. So you can see that the red is hitting the slipstream, is hitting the RPMs. Let's put back the RPMs. In this case, I think we had some issues with the ignition, like with the RPM limiter. For some reason, we're not even reaching 14,000. We were reaching 13,700. And even though the engine is, I would say, very, very good overall, for some reason, it's not really reaching 14,000 RPMs, but whatever. Despite that, you can see when he hits the limiter, let's say it's here, 13,700, it's going down the exhaust temperature. This is where it starts to go down exhaust temperature. Then it briefly, you see, goes down to 13,500 because it goes into the corner. And so we're not in the limiter anymore, and therefore it goes back up. It's getting, you know, it starts to burn fuel again. Okay, obviously it starts to get leaner again. And then he hits the limiter again, 13,700, and he starts to go down again. So I hope that was clear. I hope this made sense to you guys. And I mean, this could be helpful if you're doing data analysis for yourself, if you're coaching kids, or if you're the father of the kid that is, you know, driving. And so if you look to actually tune the carburation yourself, then this is a very important aspect to look at. And it's also very good for coaching because you can tell exactly where the kid is going to throttle. Remember that going on the gas early is important, but not overly, like not too early that it's like actually making the car into push understeer on the exit. So there's a balance in every corner. You need to go on the gas exactly the right point. If you go too late, which is what most beginners do, you lose a lot of time, you know, on the limit of the exit. But if you go on the gas too early, typically you will just get into push understeer. You may even drop a wheel on the exit, or you will get a snap oversteer on the exit. So typically my rule of thumb is to see that after we go on the throttle, after a few meters, let's say less than 10 meters later, the speed goes up. If it's longer than that, typically the throttle pickup point was too early, or there's something wrong with the chassis. That's like you're going on the throttle and you get a lot of understeer from push understeer. So we need to tune something in the car differently to either give more front grip or less rear to make the car rotate on the exit a bit more. So yeah, so for example here, that rule is being applied. You see they're going on the gas at 605, 606. It actually is the same guy, and the speed starts to go up at 600. Actually a little bit late. Actually, yeah, it starts to go up here. Let's say 600. Yeah, 14, 15. It has a little bit of a plateau, but then it goes up even sharply. Let's look at another corner, for example. Yeah, here is more specific. Forget about the red that he actually had to overtake, I guess. the yellow, you see they go up on throttle at 1144 meters, and right after it's already going up the speed. So you can tell it is actually correlated to what I actually just said. So you should see normally, as a rule of thumb, that after 10 meters you should go, like after when you go on the throttle, within 10 meters the speed starts to go up. If it's not like that, then there is an issue with the setup or with the driver that's going too right on the gas. All right guys, I hope this was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and if you have any videos, ideas you would like me to cover in terms of telemetry analysis, in terms of video analysis, or whatever topic, I'd be happy to go and create a video for that, obviously. So with like considering that, we'll see you in the next video.